the minister's country is on the line for sinking in Maldives, that in Africa already our people are dying from drought, there's water shortages and so on. The politicians are carrying on as if the negotiators are carrying on, particularly those from the US and the polluting countries historically who carry the biggest responsibility, are behaving in a manner as if it's business as usual. And they negate the fact that people are dying now, and the more they delay, the more they drag the feet, they are basically selling our children and grandchildren's future down the toilet. That is what they are doing.
We cannot allow for rich countries, I'm Bobby from Friends of Europe, we cannot allow rich countries to, in Durban, have the great escape and walk away without commitments, without ensuring that there's finances, because of historical responsibility, paid to the poor of the world to make sure that tomorrow we're not suffering. We need those actions now. We do not need them in 2020. We need commitment that they made 5 years ago, that they made in Bali. That commitment must come now, not tomorrow.
Would you consider this a failure or a success?
Well, right now, we hope in this final hour that the negotiations are not over. These negotiators have the power in their hands to do the right thing for the planet, for the poor, and for our children and grandchildren's future. On finance, which is key to our poor countries, we want to remind the rich countries that just as they were overnight able to find not millions of dollars, not billions of dollars, trillions of dollars to bail out the banks, the bankers, and the bonuses, we're asking for a fraction of that money to bail out the poor, bail out the planet, and bail out our children's and grandchildren's future. That is what is at stake. We need the ambition. We don't need baby steps in the right direction. We need our negotiators here to come up with a deal that tells us to do what the science tells us to do. And the science tells us that emissions must peak by 2015. And the rate that we are going, we are looking at a world of 4-degree temperature rise. That will fry Africa, that will sink all the small island states, and it is unacceptable that the most powerful countries in the world and continue to drag the feet and show the lack of urgency and lack of ambition.
And yet we are in Africa with the Bamako Declaration of the African Group. They were extremely ambitious. They said we need a 40% reduction by 2017. So Africa has remained strong here, and we hope that over the next 24 hours that Africa is not divided by rich nations of the world. Africa must stand firm. Africa must remain committed to its people, and we call upon the EU, Japan, Canada, and the US to back off support rather than get Africa into a future where it will burn.
And can I just make one comment to build, if I can just say one thing quickly about what Bobby said, because this is something that some of your journalists have been asking us about. It's common gossip and commonly understood in the corridors that some rich countries, we've heard it from individual negotiators are telling us, the US and Canada in particular, have been trying to silence the small developing countries by talking about threatening to withdraw aid packages, or on the other side saying if you don't put up the resistance, then in fact you will get more aid. That is undemocratic, that is unethical, and that is completely immoral and unacceptable to us when our children's future is at stake. But I think it's important the minister has a voice.
So what you're saying is nice on the book, but can you really change anything?
With the current emission targets that has been pledged, we are not going to limit ourselves with the 2-degree rise in temperature. We know we are going to go to 4 degrees and even more, and that is just simply going to annihilate island nations like the Maldives, and this is something we cannot simply accept, and this is not something we can negotiate. We are talking about survival of a nation. We are talking about many nations like the Maldives. So I am being given the strength with the power of the people to negotiate, and I'm very glad that this is happening. The people are rising.
Do you think it's your time? Is the call?
It's never the last until you die, so we will always fight for it.
After all, we have big nations like Germany and so on, who have known to have a really good reputation as far as environmental laws are concerned. Which role should they play?
We are in the middle of a negotiation still, and we still have some hours to go with the negotiations, so I would not want to compromise the negotiations. I'm sure we will do the right thing. I believe in humanity. I believe every man and every woman has a good part in him or her, and I'm sure they will listen to the good things, the right things to do, and I'm being very hopeful that we will come out with something that will save the small island nations and the most vulnerable nations.
Okay, when you're saying negotiation, that means you're going to give up something. What are you willing to
give up? A negotiation doesn't necessarily mean giving up. You don't give up when you die, so we're not negotiating with the case of our death. We are not negotiating.
The small islands.
We are not negotiating with our survival. We can negotiate with everything else, but not with the survival of any country or any people.
How much more can we expect the poor, vulnerable nations to compromise? Maldives in Copenhagen fought for 1.5 degrees. The majority of countries here, want to limit temperature increase by 1.5 degrees, not 2 degrees. Because already, if nations are suffering any further increase in temperature, those that are actually paying a big price now are going to be worse off. So the compromise to 2 degrees was made.
I want to say a last thing. What we have is a global problem, and this can only be resolved by a global solution, and we are all in it. We, the Maldives, who are a minor emitter, are committed for binding targets. We want all emitters, regardless of who you are, major, developing, everybody to commit to binding targets. Maldives is quite ready to do that, and I'm hoping that there will be other nations who will follow the same example.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.